Hello and welcome to the UT Forecast. Sorry for the incredibly long delay, but Discord decided to die and then I had to remake my overlays to have everybody show up so you know who was talking. And this week we're joined by Fiayu, Flickswitch, Repeat and Zol, some faces you might have heard of before in the previous episodes. But basically it's time to chill and we're going to play some chill and talk about what we like, what we don't like, all that jazz, first impressions. Say hello guys.
Hello.
Hey.
Right, so we've already played this already a little bit. What are your first impressions? Why are you all white? Are you just going for the camouflage builds?
Yeah, we're going for the chilling look.
This is my fault because I on purpose made the game in deathmatch mode, so you can see how ridiculous the camouflage on this map is if you're playing deathmatch.
Okay.
Without
You
two
planned
colors,
this,
that
didn't
is. Yes, I did.
I'm going to turn my audio down a bit and I'm going to turn these guys up. Do not go anywhere as I do so.
And that's, I guess, the first point of it, right?
Yeah,
The
so
visibility on this map.
it does look amazing. You can't deny that.
Yeah, yeah. That firstly said, this looks amazing as fuck. To be honest, man, this is.
I think they've
it's
outdone
stunning.
themselves personally.
It is something like
The
out of
visuals on
Skyrim,
this
isn't it?
map are stunning, but there is a gameplay problem that comes with that. Come on, buddy, boy.
Yeah, the map looks amazing. And it's quite nice because it offers just another kind of texture set for people to play with on their own maps as well.
Yeah.
I'm just doing the volume.
The problem
guys.
is that if you're in this open area, where the sun is especially, you're almost exactly the same colour as the stone. So if I'm by this pillar,
Yeah, you do.
near the link gun area,
Yeah.
pain in the arse to notice people.
What I found frustrating was when playing in slightly higher graphics. In fact, it's not so bad actually in low graphics because I'm running low graphics now. But I couldn't see my crosshair whatsoever. Me and Zol, we did a lot of the filming or me shooting Zol for that Unreal Tournament trailer. So I couldn't hit him. We spent about half an hour, 45 minutes trying to hit one shock beam. And I couldn't do
Yeah.
it because I couldn't see a crosshair or anything.
If you guys come to what the sniper tower shield belt area, I can just kind of show you the jump I was doing, the visibility on this part. So I was basically doing an impact hammer jump from here over to the shield belt.
And basically I was just trying
This
to
one?
shoot him in the air like that. I did it first time there.
Did it first time, but before it took about 40 tries.
Yeah, like I was trying to get the right shot, and then we didn't even end up using that clip in the trailer, I don't think. But
But what?
No, we didn't. But highly annoying. I found that, but it's actually not so bad on low graphics. I can actually see my crosshair. And
Yeah, I think on high graphics it really blends in there, but
yeah,
It doesn't help that you've got the snow particles on the higher graphic settings.
I actually kind of like those. I think they do look pretty.
Yeah,
I'm
I
just whacking
don't-
up my graphics.
Yeah, I don't have a big problem with the snowflakes everywhere.
So,
yeah, I mean,
It's just a map that is way too busy.
Yeah.
Like, this is not competitively viable in my eyes. This is too much.
What about with team skins though? How does it look with team skins? Because to me they were quite clear, red and blue.
Should be better.
Yeah, it does look better with team skins, it has to be
Yeah.
said. But I don't think the priority of visibility should be put on the maps. Personally, I'd rather it was on the skins.
I mean, this,
Yeah, I don't know. That's a double-edged sword because if you put it on the skins, then all this custom skin thing it just gets pointless because everyone just shines bright like a fucking diamond.
I singing a song there. Fairly sure you
Just a quick reference, but you get what I mean. Like, why use skins if everyone just has a big
Yeah, you got a point.
shiny skin everywhere?
I think this map itself presents a kind of new challenge in terms of visibility because previously the textured maps have been quite dark, and that's been the issue. But this is almost the other end of the spectrum now. You're trying to make skins stand out against like blank white canvases.
Well, Titan Pass had similar problems.
Yeah, with the sort
In
of
the flag
high
areas, there's-
sunlight areas.
Yeah.
Like, it just becomes white and you can't tell which is team and which isn't. But I feel this is much better than Titan Pass, but I think there needs to be a solution to that problem. What it is, what would you suggest? I mean, like having sort of silhouettes of players? Would you just downscale the beautiful maps? Like, is having a silhouetted player a high, like, price to pay for a competitive game that, you know, gameplay is the key?
I think a mix of those could work well. Like, don't put too much detail into the maps, and not just for visibility reasons, but for accessibility reasons to the game. Already, this map had made me lower my my settings, my graphical settings for the textures at least to low, so I could have my proper frame rate back. And I'm playing on a pretty beefy rig, so I can't imagine how people play on those maps on worse PCs.
Well, this is the first time I've played this map actually on low settings, and the visibility is 100 times better than what it is on epic settings, and I always play on low settings usually, so it's a weird one for me. But I would like to see some form of, not bright skin, because I think that would devalue, like, you know, customizable skins, but some form of brighter silhouette around a player. And I know a lot of people will be anxious and no and screaming, but these kind of graphics, they have a price to pay. They do get players in, they get people in the front door, but do they keep them there for long periods of time? Probably not. As you said, repeat, the graphical, you know, problems, being able to run it on a toaster machine is also important. And somebody actually made a post on the forums about having, like, can we have the mesh maps but also have an option to pick the mesh maps down to what they used to be like in the work in progress build?
Yeah, exactly. I think I saw that, and I'm not sure if I agree with that, because why use meshed maps then? Like, just to get the people in, and then everyone has to play with shells anyway, because it's a big advantage. I would like to have the game as similar on every level as possible to any player, so there is no big difference in what people play competitively to what they play casually, if you understand what I mean. I would just like, I'm not saying like give me back Quake 3 graphics or UT99 graphics, but just not doing it the way it's done right now, like completely over the top visuals,
Well,
eye candy everywhere.
I wouldn't say it's completely over the top. I'd say UT3 was on that regard in terms of over the top. I think
UT3 was shiny as fuck. I'm speaking about accessibility as well here, because UT3 was very shiny and grim, but at the same time very very shiny because all the effects were bright and colorful.
No. Well,
This time around, I think the effects are okay.
Yeah.
But just the fidelity of the graphics is too much for most rigs.
I mean, I would like to test it on a lower build. That's the problem. Lower computer, spec computer, because I'd be interested to know how much FPS I would get on something a little bit more reasonably priced, because I do have quite a good PC at the moment. So
Yeah, same for me.
I can't judge it that well from my perspective. I mean, a lot of people have the mouse issues as well, and you know, that's very PC spec orientated as well as from what I hear. So it'd be just interesting to try it and see what the capabilities of the game are for a lower spec PC, because some people also have said that, you know, they've been able to run this game just fine. There's lots of people that think, you know, it's been okay, and there's a whole different coin flip because you're coming from the ultra competitive side as well. I totally get that repeat, and I think we all want the same thing.
Yeah, but I'm coming from the competitive side, but at the same time, Epic wants to go to the competitive side, so you gotta do something towards that. Like, look at all the competitive games right now. How many of them are high fidelity graphics games?
Yeah, well, that's
Like
true.
none of them. Like the prettiest game is probably CS:GO currently from the big esport titles, right? And the graphics there are old as fuck.
Well, there's Overwatch as well, but it's yet to be proven on the esports stage as well. So, but
Yeah, I guess, but it's still
More
not.
stylized,
Yeah,
isn't it?
it's stylized, not just over the top realistic graphics and eye candy everywhere.
I think also one of the really strong points of this game will be that it's free, but generally the kind of people that would really value the fact that it's free will not necessarily going to have high-end PCs that are going to be able to run
Yeah,
it.
pretty much. That's one.
So it's
That's
kind
one
of-
thing. Like, you have already done the right thing and made the game free, but then you put the entry barrier for visuals so high, or for PC so high, that most people would like to play it, but can play it maybe at 20 or 30 frames, and in a game where you need like at least 60 to be able to do something.
Yeah.
Like, really, at least.
Yeah. It depends
I
what
don't
your
think
sort of
it's-
target FPS is, really, because I feel like the people who will value the higher FPS, like if we're all aiming for 120 or 144, we're all prepared to turn down the graphics. But your casual player probably doesn't have a 120 FPS monitor. In general, that is. So maybe they're
Yeah, sure.
not too-
I mean, I agree. The target should be like 60 because most people have a 60 Hz monitor. That should be right.
But whenever I started playing UT, it was a whole different story because pretty much nobody could run the game as the way it was, like, you know, at its max frame rates and stuff, and people didn't play it for that reason. And it was more, you know, you get in casually and you'd eventually go pro and do all the tweaking and the tuning and then buy upgrades just to run your favorite game. So it's really,
That's the old way, right? Like, does that
But-
still happen with newer competitive titles?
it's gotta
like
still
Dota?
happen. There's new people that play a game and don't realize that they're actually lagging, you know, or having bad frame
Yeah,
rate.
sure, that's one thing. I mean, like, playing around with config settings and getting all the tiny little advantages out of your config from graphical values. That's old, right? Nobody does that in Dota or LOL, right?
But they shouldn't have to do it. It should all be in the game
Yeah,
menus.
that's what I was going
Gotta say, yeah.
to say. Yeah.
No, I totally agree with that. I mean, when I used to play in competitions in like the CPL, they would ban you from loading console, so you weren't allowed to change any graphical settings in the console. You could only do in menu stuff, which a lot of the pros actually did like, because, you know, some people knew some twisted up commands and they could really take advantage of it. So it's much nicer to have that sort of locked control.
Yeah,
But in a way
I
that-
almost feel like there needs to be some kind of advanced setting menu for that exact purpose.
Yeah.
That lets you, you know, tune the more specific details that a casual player won't really care about, but something that allows you to get good customizability without having to use the console. So you don't have to you ban the console at events, but then you've got this great sort of extended config that the competitive players can use.
Yeah, I mean, you know, there is more configurable settings in the options, right? Like the show and
Yeah.
launch options.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, there's still a lot of stuff that you can only do using
Console
config
commands.
files, though. And it would be ideal if you could like make it so that any important settings are all within the game. No one's getting an unfair advantage visually by tweaking.
I'd be interested to know what the chat thinks as well in terms of the visuals of Unreal Tournament, the way it's headed. how do we get around the problem of having nice, clear, viewable player models to shoot at? Because it can be frustrating, but you know, I've looked at some of the previous games in the past in Unreal Tournament, and even UT99 was quite dark on just like, if you didn't know how to config, you could easily hide in the darkness on some maps with some characters, and it was probably even worse in terms of visual clarity than this game. But
Well,
you
yeah,
know,
I
if you
think
if
the
you
key
configured
difference-
it, then it wouldn't make a difference, and it was
The key
vastly
difference-
superior.
The key difference between that game and this game is that the wall textures in UT4 are really sort of
Detailed.
noisy,
Yeah.
whereas in UT99 you may as well just have
Yeah, that's a good point.
flat one color textures and everything, and I think that's kind of a look that you should be able to go for because it looks nice and clean, and it doesn't necessarily make the game look bad. Because currently playing on low settings, it doesn't look fantastic when it could be slightly more stylized. And if you've got competitive players who are going to stream in the future or tournaments that are streaming, you want those sort of ideal settings to be pleasant to watch.
Yeah, that's another point actually. For a fast-paced game like this, having all those noisy textures and all those high detail graphics, it's really hard to watch, I think. Especially if you're not watching on source quality or something
Yeah.
like that.
Well, the
It's basically a pixel mess.
I guess the CTF event that we did would be a prime example of that, and not helping because of the noisy translocator as well, with 5 people transwarping everywhere and 30 FPS.
And
So
30 FPS, yes.
it was a whole, you know, there was loads of different reasons for it. It wasn't just the translocator. I'm not trying to be anti-CTF there, but it doesn't help anyway, in my opinion.
I would like to, basically I would like to see Unreal Tournament be more stylized than just high fidelity, realistic graphics.
But
I mean, you can have the high resolution textures, they just, from a distance, I think they just need to be less sort of contrasty. So if you're standing on this side of the map, if you're standing at the belt, I don't think you should be able to make out each individual brick on the other side of the map. It should just sort of blend into one more, just to make it slightly easier on the eyes.
yeah,
But once you get close, they can, you can still have really realistic looking textures and all that.
I mean,
It just needs to be less noisy in every single plane that you're looking at.
Yeah, my issue with the visibility in Unreal Tournament has always been about contrasting colors, because they break up the silhouette of the player. And,
Yeah, it's like camouflage.
and
all
another
that.
another advantage of having stylized graphics would be to make the game more recognizable when watching.
yeah. The thing is it too late to go for more a stylized look now? I mean, you know, they spent loads and loads of hours building up this game to look polished in this sort of style. Are we willing to
Well, I guess
sacrifice
that's a
that?
question.
And you know, that's a lot of man hours to try and redesign the game with a brand new look.
I don't think you necessarily have to redesign it. I think you can still have maps that look as good as they do currently on the highest settings. But I think there should be options that allow you to make it slightly low contrast, like maybe even a whole low contrast mode that still makes the game look good. It's just stylized in a different way, and the only issue with that is that it depends if you're willing to give advantages to people who are prepared to turn down the settings that.
It's weird because I want the detail for me is the player models and the gun models, and the world environments are less important to me. Like, I want to know how cool my skin is. I want to know how cool player models look. That's where I want to see the detail lie, I suppose, in my eye, because I think that's where, you know, people are going to be more invested in when they buy skins or buy cosmetics.
Yeah, pretty much.
And so
That is what they did for
oh, carry on, Fiayu.
that is what they did for Team Fortress 2, but they did it in pretty extreme way, where in Team Fortress 2, if you look at the maps, they're actually pretty bland, pretty bleak
Mhm.
brown colors. But then you look at the players and they are totally blinged out, items, and they are very recognizable. But even still, the game has very recognizable art and brand. So yeah, I think they did that right.
Yeah.
I think Unreal Tournament could do something similar, but not to the same extreme.
Actually, come stand here, Zacubus, where I'm stood
Yeah.
for a sec. Just the way. Okay, let me go stand where you were stood there. In this kind of lighting here,
Yeah.
you really blend in with the wall.
Yeah, you
I don't know
do.
if you can see it the way I do.
Yeah, it's basic. If I was just glancing through here, I honestly, you like the Predator right now? You know, it's kind of like a shimmer effect.
Yeah. I mean, as you said, like an outline or a silhouette might help a lot.
And I know there's like a skill to having a really sharp eye and seeing those details, but I think it affects gameplay a lot more. And I think gameplay is a lot more important for the long run of the game rather than having something.
Yeah, you should.
Absolutely.
And that skill in spotting someone, I think that aiming and hitting them and all sorts of other skills in the game, like timing, positioning, I think those are much more important than just being able to spot people.
But the thing
But
is,
I actually. Sorry, go on.
I was going to say one more thing. Even with bright skins in the past, I'm sure you guys have had the situation where you've still missed somebody and they've been right on your screen anyway, and they've been bright green. Like, I've had that multiple times when I've been playing tournaments and stuff. Like, somebody right in front of me, and I
Again.
flicked
That
over
is-
them.
I think that is an issue about information. When you give players too much visual information, they will miss stuff right in front of them. And for example, on DM Leah, you have this problem where there's so much visual information that you miss players right in front of you. You don't have the same issue on other maps, even though from screenshots the visibility looks the same.
Yeah.
But in moving picture, real gameplay, it makes a big difference.
Yeah.
I mean, the other thing to consider is, like, not all maps will necessarily have the same level of detail, right? I mean, like, for example, Leah currently has lighting issues, but if, for example, it was a bit brighter, I don't necessarily think it would be as hard to see people on Leah as it can be on Titan Pass in this map, for example.
Yeah,
So as an
especially.
example that actually competitive maps could just have slightly simpler texturing.
'Cause
Then
Leah
you would
still
have
looks
to go
amazing.
and decide beforehand which is a competitive map and which isn't. know?
I don't think that's necessarily an issue.
Captain Migraine
I mean-
says he's got a new Lear, which he's testing for new visibility, viability, visibility-wise. Yeah.
I have actually. Oh yeah, I had the chance to play that, and
Yeah.
it's a whole lot less contrasty, which means that it's much easier to see someone who's moving about, and there's a little bit less blue and the yellow stripes.
Yeah, like, I
are
think just in terms of
reduced.
the textures, maybe the lighting's a bit of an issue on Leah, but otherwise I think it's pretty decent when it comes to visibility, especially compared to these sorts of maps.
Succubus, if you want to try something on your stream, you can go to graphic settings, to
Yeah.
advanced settings. Then you can disable reflection mapping and tone mapper filter. I think it's a good tip for people if they want to increase the visibility. I think it makes a big difference.
It certainly does. Makes our things a lot paler and less reflective. In fact,
Oh
So
wow,
I'm
yeah.
still-
But it doesn't work in some maps, right? Some maps
Yeah,
go
let's have a look
dark
at
or
that
something.
spot again and
Yeah.
come back.
Yeah, on solo it's kind of bugged, and it almost makes it unlit. But personally, I almost like that kind of effect.
I still think it's doesn't really help that situation that much. Like, you
Yeah, I
still
think
blend in.
that particular setting works very well on certain maps, but on like this map's already bright, it kind of just makes it even brighter.
Yeah. It's just, I think it's just how the lighting reflects on that player model. It's almost like the players need their own. They probably do have their own lighting, but even more so than usual, maybe.
Also, an issue I have had with player lighting is that players pick up less light than the environment, which creates a lot of issues.
Okay.
Yeah, I saw your sort of proof of concept player lighting example, and that made that, you know, it's not a huge change, it's just a few percent or something, but it makes a massive sort of impact on how you spot the player much quicker than you spot areas of the map.
Yeah, that was sort of like an outline effect, but I think I changed my mind about that. I don't think that's a really good idea. I think it's really important to make a strong silhouette for the players, and the only way to do that is to evenly light the whole character model. You can't make like, you know, like the, what's it called, outline. You can't really have it because you need to see the whole silhouette.
I think the free-for-all player color in general is kind of bad right now, though. I think I have visibility issues with it even on some of the untextured maps.
That's very true, actually. I mean, it would improve dramatically if there was more coloured, less bland sort of skins in a free-for-all
Yeah.
match. Like,
I mean,
it's all dark
even if there was
greys
an
and
option,
whites and greens, isn't it?
if there was an option to just enable team colors on free-for-all games, then you could have people in red skins running around, or blue
Yeah,
skins
maybe,
running
I
around.
don't know, should we see what it looks like in
Yeah, actually make a
team map?
team game repeat if you don't mind
Okay.
re-hosting. Let's see what that looks like.
I think just in general, character models need to be more interesting than the environment. I think that's important.
The thing is, bright skins aren't great for an esport. I don't think that they're great for competitive play. Don't get me wrong, but you know there is money to be
so we
made
can all join.
in this
Then
game
I'll
because it is being
to
free.
private.
The cosmetics are really important, and they fund tournaments. They fund esports, and it's. I think it's really
The
important to get
other
that balance
thing
right.
about Chill specifically is I think a lot of people have set up their crosshairs to really work on dark maps. Now you've got this really bright map. I think
Okay,
one
will
thing that
do.
would very much help in terms of crosshairs is having outlines available for the default ones.
I mean,
You-
they have small crosses, but it's just not quite enough in some cases.
But you can make your own crosshair and add an outline. That's what I've done, and it seems pretty good for something like this. Having a dark outline on a bright crosshair.
Oh, I've got that weird 130 ping thing again going.
3,
What a weird bug.
2, 1. You are on the red team.
Let's go check out that spot again.
Just gonna turn on my settings again.
Oh yeah, blue is better seen, but that's not news, I guess.
It's like 100 times better in my opinion, but
Yeah, it is a whole lot better.
it,
And
it should
The
be.
benefit of that, the benefit is that even up close, the red and blue skins still look really great.
Yeah.
So you're not losing any visual fidelity.
I think I have to reconnect to this server. But let's have a quick look at somebody up close. That's oh, nice little. Like so much easier to see.
Yeah.
The red skin does kind of blend into that wall a little bit because it is a saturated color with the light, but it's still a hell of a lot better. And it would be nice to, as Flick said, have that sort of default option to have team colored models in a free-for-all game.
Yeah, that's one thing. But I don't think that should be the solution for that, because what happens if you next time have a blue map like Leah, or next time you have a red map, or there's always gonna be some problem if you keep it like that and just use team colors.
I mean, there could even be some kind of setting where Leah would force red players if you have the option enabled. So
Yeah, I
every
mean-
opponent is red.
There could be more teams than just red and blue, and it's up to the map maker what the two teams are on that particular map. I know, I guess that goes kind of against the iconic kind of two red and blue, and you have the Thunder Crash and the other one, but
Yeah.
like I think the way Quake Live does it. It's that you get to choose the color. I
Yeah.
think with like higher detail models, it's not necessarily possible that you just choose any color from a hex wheel. But if you could have like multiple preset options, you could probably find something to work on any map, or a skin that would work for each map.
And as a side note, I think if that kind of thing was to become popular, it should definitely be standard, because then Epic can enforce it, and so all the Epic hubs are running that kind of stuff, and it's not just something that people would rather play on custom hubs just to have that kind of setting.
I'm just going to reconnect to this server very quick. Oh,
I'll have to invite you.
yes, please. Just want to get rid of my 180 ping. But all this talk about visibility, I mean, we want to have it, help this game build as an esport hopefully in the future. And cosmetics are pretty key to that, as I was telling the stream just a few moments ago, like the funding of tournaments, etc., and getting more people involved. And
Yeah, and keeping people around as well.
I mean, ESL had this rule that you weren't allowed to use cosmetics in the tournament. You weren't allowed to use like the flame hat, even though it doesn't necessarily put.
Well, you were allowed to use cosmetics. You just weren't allowed to use those cosmetics that have those effects that could distract people.
I
you-
think
You can have any hat. You just
You couldn't have
like
the
any
box hat
normal
either.
hat. Okay, box hat. I
personally,
don't know.
I think that that's an issue that the competitive community kind of has to swallow its pride on, and in the grand scheme of things, it's pretty minor. And considering it's quite a major thing for the casual players and keeping that sort of crowd around, I think it should definitely be prioritized in that sense, and maybe just accept the fact that people are going to have hats and weapon skins and competitive play.
Yeah.
I think that I only really have issue with any kind of cosmetics that alter the silhouette of the model or alter the shape of the model, especially hats. If you have like this massive top hat, for example, that could easily put someone off trying to
Yeah,
headshot
you
you,
could-
for example.
Yeah, you could miss their head and hit the hat and not hit the player model at all. Yeah.
Or even see the player's head above a ledge that you normally wouldn't be able to see them over.
Well, that's really important to get that kind of balance right, isn't it? That you make skins that are viable for competitive, that look awesome as well, so people will want to buy them. But it would be kind of weird if you took the skins out of Dota or LoL right now, because they use them in competitive play. There are some skins that are banned, though. That has to be said. Some do affect gameplay, and they ban them outrightly. And I think we've got to use that sort of same caution. But I was kind of annoyed that ESL decided to remove those kind of skins, because if that was the future outcome for the game, I think it's a really bad outcome. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not going to have so much of an esports potential in the long run, with nobody being able to buy anything or contribute to the game or help, like people that are even making the skins, for instance. Once we get them and they want to make some cool content, be like, what's the point? Because nobody is going to use them or buy them.
Yeah, you have to think of it in terms of these artists could probably make a skin for Dota or CS or UT, but if no one's even using their skins in UT and no one's therefore buying them, then what's their incentive to make really cool skins for this game?
Yeah, exactly. And that's a very good point, that we definitely need more people helping contribute that time and that art to this game, because it needs it. We have a very small community, even though they are very loyal. But anyways, I think we should probably move on to the next topic, which is basically
We didn't talk about Chill itself, I think. We went straight on to visibility, pretty much, and quick accessibility detour.
that's true.
I think it was all pretty chill specific.
I
So,
don't know,
do you wanna
because there are
talk-
some map-specific things that are interesting or bad, I would say.
All right, well, pin 'em out
like
for a 3-peat.
collision, especially with the bio launcher. Come to the rocket area, I guess. And now look at this awesome grenade.
Ooh, the lift
This
is
was normal, and there we go. And this happens everywhere.
So anywhere where there's a collision based on the static meshes, it's gonna jump. Sorry.
Well,
Bounce in a
most
way
of those
to
meshes do not collide with the player, but they do with projectiles. So then you
I mean,
have
that-
this weird stuff where grenades fly into every weird direction.
Well, I think before the bio launcher as well, we didn't have bouncing projectiles, so it may
Well,
well be that that's an
we
issue
did.
in a lot of
It
matches.
wasn't noticeable.
it was only on
As noticeable
corners.
as that, because if you used a flak before and you did the same thing where you kind of shoot a strange corner or a strange floor angle, it would be only like half of the shards would fly a different direction. You wouldn't notice it by yourself because, well, you still hit a few shards and then you move on and it's all very fast. But now you just, with the bio grenade launcher, you just see it immediately. Something is wrong.
right now, if you shoot any staircase with the flak cannon, half of them sort of bounce up and half of them bounce straight back into your face.
Well, yeah,
And
that
that's a-
too.
That's a really easy fix. You just need a blocking volume that blocks everything up over the top as a
Any of you
slope.
guys got a stinger?
Yeah, I do.
You should come to me. For instance, this wall here.
There we go.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh
there's
yeah, we were
quite-
talking about this earlier.
It's quite a
So
few
that's-
walls and textures that.
Oh
have
yeah,
problems.
the walls
that's an
and stuff.
issue as well.
The walls must all have these blocking volumes to block the player, but the collision's all mesh based, so it's only going to collide
Yeah,
with the
I
meshes.
noticed this earlier at the shield belt, because this is a place where you could, potentially actually want to use the stinger to get up onto the belt from below. But you just...
Yeah, you have to hit right on the edge.
Another thing are areas like this. Come back to the rocket area, please. And we had some of those issues on Leah as well, I believe. Exactly that.
Yeah, that shouldn't be
Meshes or the environment swallowing damage.
Oh yeah, that looks bad.
Because, like, look at
Oh.
this. Normally this would be a bad position for the guy to stay on this ramp, but as this looks, man, most of the rockets go through the staircases and don't do damage at all.
That used to happen a lot in UT3. That kind of bug with the staircases. It used to really annoy me.
No, I guess it's not a bug, it's
Well,
just
yeah,
something that
glitches,
needs
yeah.
to be addressed
I mean-
for consistency purposes.
To
Oh, I
fix that
guess-
kind of thing, all you need to do is look at what Captain Migraine's done with
Yep,
Leah
pretty
and
much.
Deep.
It's
and
an
just
easy fix. The map makers just need to think about it and check it out when they start meshing maps.
Does it happen on this map so much? Yeah, it does.
Yeah, every
Yeah.
staircase is kind of
Every
iffy.
staircase is the same thing from the side on the staircases. Rockets go through. I mean, you could argue that now this is like on purpose that the rockets go
Hey.
through here, so it can like do splash damage from the walls,
think-
or you can shoot completely through stairs. But
That's kind of firing it through this way is actually pretty, pretty convenient. But
You're never gonna have time to do that.
yeah,
again,
it's just
so.
kind of like it'd be better if that was made on purpose, but if you know what I mean, it would be a cool idea for maybe
Yeah.
yeah, but
open
if
it
it
like a
would be on
legitimate opening.
purpose, yeah, if it would be on purpose, then you would notice it. Like, oh yeah, okay, the map maker actually thought about this and made this possibility for whatever reason, right?
But firing this way would annoy me more than anything. If I missed the
Yeah.
dizzy rocket like that.
Yeah,
'Cause, you know,
pretty
it's
much.
Yeah,
just-
especially because
Yeah.
in just about any situation when you're on a big face and your opponent shooting at it, you should just be at a massive disadvantage. And if there's this sort of RNG based system where every now and then you'll take 0 damage from a rocket, then that's a bad thing.
But at least that, you said it was an easy fix, so. I'm
Yeah, I mean you
sure-
could probably just select all the blocking volumes in the map and change them to block all, and then you'd fix the vast majority of the collision issues.
I think I just sorry, go on.
I was just
Mine,
gonna,
mine's a non-chill related thing.
I was just going to say, how are you finding the movement across this map? Are you bumping into things that you shouldn't be, that you've noticed?
Not
haven't
much,
noticed anything.
except for those few little stacks of stones, I guess, like here. Below the belt. Like, I don't know. It's kind of off the map, I know, but still sometimes
Yeah.
pretty strange.
I mean, for the
And
most
then-
part, it's all blocked off player collision wise. It just needs to be done with the weapons.
Yeah. The jump from shock rifle to the little ledge towards, like, was that possible before?
Yeah.
So
Like
what?
From here over
from-
there?
Yeah, that was.
Okay, I didn't know about it before.
Oh,
can't
that
do it.
one. Oh no, I didn't know about that. Anyway, Zach, I noticed something pretty cool. If you change one of your taunts to Bring It B
Yeah.
and try that out.
Oh, there's new taunts.
But not just that, that Bring It B taunt, that's a first person taunt.
Oh,
So you actually stay first person when you do it. That's pretty cool.
that's cool. Yeah, that's so much. I think that's much better. It's kind of weird when you get disconnected with the third-person view. Let's have a look at it in the next map. I'm guessing it's going to be chill again. Right, I'm going to change the topic anyway, because I think we're pretty much done on the chill discussion at the
Yeah,
moment. But
at least for the short amount of
I mean-
time it was out, that's all we could find. I think.
artistically, it is a masterpiece. There's no denying.
Yeah, no denying that.
It's
like-
just amazing.
You can't knock it for how gorgeous it does look, but
Yep.
it's the other things that we play the game for, I suppose, is the real issue. And
Yeah, and I think you can have this. You can have amazing quality maps. You just need
we
to make
that.
a couple of sacrifices here and there,
Hmm.
in terms of settings that players change or whatever. But you need to embrace that if you want the kind of esport audience that other games have.
It's not just even the esports audience. It's about getting some of those casuals in that have the toasters for computers.
Pretty
So
much, yep.
it's as Repeat likes to mention a lot. Accessibility, being able to have a free-to-play game that is easy to play and get into and run it.
3, 2, 1. You are on the red.
Seems like there's some FPS issues on this. I'm getting drops. It's got that weird drop bug again. I'm just going to reload the game.
Actually, that's quite interesting. If I try and do this taunt with the Enforcer,
See if,
it's a third person taunt. And then I'll do it with the shock rifle, and I actually see it in first person.
yeah. I've got that weird FPS bug.
Let me know when I should invite you again.
Let me try another map quickly.
Oh, but this is...
Yeah, you're going to have to probably re-invite me. So.
There's something really amazing about taunting in first person. It's like you'll do it more often now. See, you can just carry on what you were doing, but you get to taunt people at the same time.
Yeah, I'm still dropping like 10 frames for no reason. Just going to restart my game. A 970 is legit toaster for UT4, says Drew Tang. I wouldn't say it's that bad. Like, UT3 was a lot worse. It took forever to get that really smooth and running nicely.
Yeah, but
Usually a
as you can
restart
see,
fixes that
even
bug, but-
people with quite good graphics cards have problems. Like, that's, in my opinion, that's unacceptable. For a game that wants to grow big in esports.
Yeah. But
And
the
have all
reason I was dropping
those-
FPS there was just a bug, as far as I know. Like I usually get
Yeah,
solid
sure.
144.
That's one thing, yeah.
Also, because you're streaming, I mean, it's always hard to tell whether it's your CPU or your GPU.
Yeah,
So I definitely got the impression that for me, I was being bottlenecked by my CPU rather than my GPU because I was always having more issues when I was trying to stream with many people on the map. But actually, just streaming a high texture map, but just by myself, seemed fine.
Oh, I can't remember which hub were we on. The
Yeah.
French Prime one, was it?
On
Prime, yeah.
Prime.
And I love the grenade launcher.
Yeah, functionality wise, it's awesome.
Yeah, agreed. There you go. It's better now.
Do you guys want to talk about something else? Maybe
Yes.
the weapon?
We are. That's exactly where I was going. I was just reconnecting to my game and stuff. Boosh. Hopefully that will change my overlay to the right one. No, change it to the wrong one. There we go. I'm not ending just yet. But right, link gun meta. So obviously the weapon balance changes with the rocket and flak, dramatically nerfed them to a whole different level. And then suddenly ESL Cup or Game Tribes Cup, we saw this whole new link gun meta, which no values have been changed with it, but it's appearing more and more and more now because of the fact that basically if you don't land that first rocket or that first flat cannon, you're going to get linked.
Mm-hmm.
And what are your
It's
thoughts
just, yeah.
on the link gun meta?
I don't think that kind of primary should be encouraged in straight up fight. I think link needs to be much more defined. So if you take UT99's link primary, it's probably got a similar fire rate and similar damage, but it travels really slowly. So it's like, okay, you can do the same DPS as UT4's link gun approximately, but you're rarely, if ever, gonna hit that DPS compared to UT4, and also it's got this really set role of area denial, and you see people dueling on Codex or whatever when they're the armor and they spam link through the doorways, and it deters your opponent, but it doesn't do an insane amount of damage in a straight up fight as well, which is where I think the current one is OP.
Right. Well,
I think it's also kind of an issue of how safe it is to use, because I think in general the Link is a pretty well-rounded gun. Like for example, you take the sniper rifle, that's a gun that you really don't want to be caught out with in the wrong situation. I don't necessarily think people get caught out with a Link gun in the wrong situation. And on top of that, it happens to be really, really strong. So there is sort of that issue of how do you punish someone who's got the Link gun out right now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the only way you really can is by hitting your shots, which is quite hard to do if the Link player only has to concentrate on movement. They don't really have to concentrate on aim.
it's weird that for me, like it wasn't really an issue for me, and it hasn't really been an issue for me still. I don't seem to struggle on it so much, but like we played, when did we last play Flick?
It was Sunday.
Yeah, like we played a shed load of games and you hammered me, but I didn't think it was down to any form of like, you know, there weren't any deciding moments where it was all link gun play. I think we did like 2 pulls and that was about it. They were really cool moments that actually changed the dynamic of a game or a situation, but I never felt as if I was losing because you were overusing link gun, which is, yeah, it was kind of weird. But I think you're right. I think that link gun should be a tool rather than necessarily big damage, a finishing weapon. I mean, what I like about this version is that the primary, it takes away shot calls. So before, if somebody was playing a really deep plus back game, you could kill the core. And like on a map like Deck, where you hold the 50 area, the link primary becomes actually viable in terms of breaching into the 50 area if you're quick enough on your aim.
Yeah, and I have no
Yeah.
problem with it being viable in those situations because it's
Yeah, I love
you know,
it.
it's meant to be like that, and
Yeah.
especially the pull on the secondary in those 15 games or so that we played, it was only really useful twice, but both times were really interesting. I just don't think that the primary deserves to, you know, outclass rockets and flak at point blank range in lots of
yeah.
fights.
That's the problem I see with it as well. I mean, maybe not, because it's so young. The new meta is so young.
Yeah.
We saw it in the Games Trap Cup for the first time, and I got obliterated by it, and I was mad about it. But in the end, in 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks time, who knows how viable it still is when people started to
Well,
have in mind that it can happen to you.
that's the interesting thing because it was sprung on you quite quickly. I mean, I think the build was released that same day that you played the Games
Yep,
Tribe,
same
so
day.
you weren't expecting anything different, and you weren't expecting the rockets and flak to be considerably weaker in your own
Yeah.
right. You know, when you jump into that situation, you kind of just play your usual game style, and then suddenly, was it Sharkin that you played?
Yeah,
Yeah, just you know, just the primer, and it's working every time because he's missing all his rockets and his flak, so he switched to something else.
But I actually played a bit against Shark even before that patch, and he was really doing work with the link gun.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think there's actually maybe just an element of people overlooked it until he started really abusing people with it.
well,
Yeah,
but
the
the
stars.
reason why it got so viable was the sudden change in rocket and flak. Because before, yeah, he could get kills with it but I bet people just killed him more with with rockets or flak in those situations. And then this changed. People couldn't hit rockets anymore because they got slower. Flak got slower. People's timings were off. They weren't hitting, and he was just hammering the link primary into everyone.
Yeah.
That's another factor. Well, the only problem I see right now with the link that people will get more defensively, I guess.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Or
now it's
play
just
play
another
more
thing.
cautious.
It's another
Even
thing
more
to fear,
cautious.
and when you've
Yeah,
already
it's
got
another thing to fear. It's another thing that can just kill you in no time and obliterate your whole your whole belt stack just because you missed 1 or 2 rockets.
I think also, Zach, you were saying about how when you were playing against Flick, it didn't really factor in that much.
Yeah.
There is an element of how lame somebody is willing to be. And especially when you're playing against friends, maybe people are less likely to be spamming something that
True,
people
but I
generally
think it's just
is-
generally my play style. I don't like to get in close anyway, so I think that's probably the main reason. I don't like to force close fights. I rather do my damage from far away,
Yeah.
and that probably affects a lot of it, to be honest, from my point of view.
Probably, yeah.
But you know, Sharkin's a very plus forward, aggressive player, and that's that meta has really fixed up his gameplay quite nicely. And with the recent balance changes, it's shown how much stronger it can be against a flak that is really nerfed right now. And the secondary fire on the flak, I really liked the arc and the travel speed and everything on the secondary flak.
Yeah,
That-
I agree with that. I thought
I think
last
the
build's
last build
flak
was
secondary
fine.
was absolutely perfect.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely spot on. No need to change that secondary flak.
Yeah, the secondary was perfect, pretty much.
And
Interestingly enough, Red Eye, when he was streaming, commented on the flak ball. He said it just doesn't feel too great.
yeah, in fact, what Red Eye was saying about the primary flak as well, and this is true for the previous build as well, is that it was too delayed, like when firing it, and that's come across a lot with rockets and flak from when people fire with those. They think it's delayed. Like, am I just too used to it?
My opinion on this is that the short flak primary is too slow.
Yeah.
I actually made a flak prototype, where you can find it on the forums. You just search for my name. And it's basically a modified flak where I modified some values with what I think is more in line with what it should be like.
Yeah.
And the speed of the shards, for example, it's almost twice as fast.
In fact, have you got a video to that? I can just link it in the.
Yeah, there's a video on my YouTube channel.
Alright, I'm gonna go find that quickly.
Yeah,
Keep talking
And
for you.
from what I heard when people have tried it is that they don't feel like there's any delay when they shoot it. They feel like shooting people close range. It feels like visceral, like you
It
shoot and it
feels
connects.
responsive.
Yeah, like you would expect a shotgun to work. But the current flak in the official build, I really feel like it feels it doesn't work like you expect it to work. It doesn't work like a shotgun.
Yeah, it almost feels like you're just sort of lobbing stuff at people.
Yeah, it feels more like you shoot energy projectiles, not bullets. Yeah.
But it also ties in what we were talking about before with the link gun. Right now, going close range with the flak can be quite a risk. It feels like, because of the delay, you feel like you're not really able to hit with it as consistently as you would like. It's very easy to go into a fight and you've got your flak and you could do like 140 damage, or you could just as easily do 0 damage if you're just slightly off at close range. And because of the delay, it makes it that much easier to just do nothing. So why not just go close with rockets or link instead? It's a much more consistent thing.
Yeah, and I think that consistency is the key word with the flak, and often in UT4 it's felt like the flak's been really inconsistent. And with something more responsive that has slightly less damage, and with a more rewarding secondary arc, you could get something that feels really powerful but also consistent, so that you're not almost like taking random fights up close where whoever hits and also happens to connect with all the shards wins the fight.
I feel like a big thing with the current flak is that you have to lead your shots close range, and that's pretty hard to do actually. Very tricky to learn.
Yeah,
Even
it's-
now, it feels awkward for me to lead my shots even when my opponent is about a few meters away.
I'm always constantly waiting for my opponent to make a mistake before firing a shot now. Like, I'm waiting for the dodge, I'm waiting for that extended movement. Sort of that's what I look for when I'm trying to fire the flak right now. Whereas before I would maybe instantly flick towards somebody and get instantly gratified with some nice damage, but it feels completely different. I think that's really took a peg down in my game, because I go to flat cannon rather than rocket launcher when I have that situation up as well. I've always
Yeah, me
preferred
too.
flat cannon over rockets. I don't like fighting too close with rockets. I always tend to do more damage to myself, and I'd rather not have to do the headless chicken headbutt with them. And that's why I favour the flat cannon so much. But it's interesting, how are you finding the rockets this build as well, because they've been significantly changed as well? Anybody found any issues with them or liking them?
I had a few issues getting used to the new rockets, especially to the new damage. But at the moment, I think I'm hitting rockets quite well still. Probably too well. I get hit too well. I hit too well. I don't know. Projectiles seem very easy currently.
I'm
to me.
actually not very
Too
used to
easy.
these rockets yet. I'm struggling with the rocket splash and the damage, but that's just it's a time thing for me. I need to play with it a lot more. But flak was a whole different story. It was immediately like, I don't like this anymore.
Well, it's almost like aiming the flak became a lot more similar to aiming rockets. Like waiting for that extended movement, making a
Yeah, the
mistake.
difference being that if you hit floor with flat primary, you do no damage.
Yeah, exactly.
I think I don't really have any specific issues with any specific weapons. I think it's more about the bigger picture right now. And I think that we need to ignore a lot of ideas about the balance, because I think the important thing right now is to make the weapons feel good. And the key to do that is to adjust the fire rates, the weapon switch rates, projectile speeds,
Yeah,
and
ammo
not
and stuff.
think so much about
Fire
the implication
rates.
that has on the balance.
Yeah, so the build where player scale was changed, Epic, they announced it and they're like, okay, this build's not going to be a balance change. It's going to mess a load of stuff up. Everything's going to be really different, but we want the movement and the sort of player scale feeling. We want that to feel really good. And in my opinion, that worked really well. And I think they need to do something like that, but with the weapons at some point in time. So, you know, do a massive weapons overhaul in one build that makes all the weapons feel really responsive and feel really fun to use. They'll probably all be horribly broken, but at least you've reached the point where they're fun to use, and now all you have to do is tweak values, specific things like that, as opposed to what we have now, which is when you're trying to simultaneously change all the damage values and change how the weapons feel.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the right way to do it as well, Flick, because I think, you know, when people play, like when we were watching Red Eye just play this beforehand not so long ago, and he was like, he was saying, this isn't the UT I remember, where's all the overpowered weapons? He couldn't kill anything. I was like, I can't kill anything, everything's too weak. Like, I want my overpowered flak, I want my overpowered rockets, I want my overpowered, all this kind of stuff. It's like, it's kind of a point. It's the kill time is getting higher and higher for the casual market, rather, you know, we all see it very quick to kill on a competitive level, which it can be, but he's seeing it from that lower spectrum at the moment, the casual side of things, and people not getting rewarded for using a high damage weapon. So
Yeah, and the key to that, in my opinion, is just making the weapons, you know, feel like they're doing what they're supposed to do. So if you've got flat
Oh, I think I've lagged out.
damage, you know, you can't. It's not the other, but you can have both.
Yeah, to me, so far it looked like every balance change on weapons got a little bit of fun out of the gun. Like if it was OP, yes, it was then changed, and then it was less OP or okay damage wise, but it wasn't fun to use anymore. I had that feeling with shock rifle, to be honest, personally. In the beginning of the pre-alpha, I was using shock rifle a lot. That was my main weapon. And at some point something changed, and now I only use it for predictions. I don't use it in actual head-on engagements anymore. I'd rather go a few steps back and use the sniper rifle, or go a few steps in and use the rockets.
And some of that's got to be to do with the ammo change as well.
Yeah, probably maybe ammo change as well.
That's actually something about the game that I like to bring up, because in the old games, UT99 2K4 specifically, if you picked up a weapon on its base and the ammo next to it, you know, you can use that for ages. But if you're playing free for all, or sometimes even TDM or duel, and you grab a weapon, sometimes there's ammo up. Even if there is, it feels like you get 2 or 3 kills with it, and then you're out of ammo, and then you've got to go back to Enforcer. And that just doesn't feel rewarding to me. I think if you pick up the weapon, you should deserve to keep that. Slightly longer, you know, not excessive.
And that is an area where you can't really balance things by changing how fun they are. For example, ammo. If you reduce the ammo of a weapon, you can balance it that way, but you're going to make it less fun to use.
Yeah, that's exactly what I mean as well. Yeah.
And that is not the right way to do it, I think. Even if it's like theoretically creates higher skill ceiling, it's not the right way to do it.
It looks
in the
right
end, we
on
all-
paper, right? So like, oh yeah, this weapon is very spammy, so we just decrease the ammo count. But in the end, it takes away the fun.
Yeah.
In a lot of the cases.
And often doesn't solve the problem. It would be like if you've got, let's say the issue with flak at one point was that you could do over 200 damage in one shot, and that's literally a whole stack gone. If you made it so the flak only had 5 shots, you're nerfing the fun out of the weapon, but also you're still not solving the problem that you can still do a huge amount of damage to someone in one shot. So reducing ammo and reducing the fun of the weapons really, you know, it's not the way to go to balance them.
And that is what I kind of feel like they did with the flak and rocket dispatch.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, the rocket's not so much in my opinion, but the flak with the unresponsive arc and the slower shards and the really sort of long wait time between shots, that just doesn't feel enjoyable to use. And it, percentage-wise, maybe there's a more you know, a more watchable and more enjoyable sort of percentage of kills made by flak cannons, but it doesn't matter if all those kills feel kind of crappy.
Well,
And another thing, if I can bring up something, is that
go for it.
what do you guys feel about the idea of introducing new weapons? You know, we had the bio launcher.
Oh, I'd love
Seems to have
see
pretty
that.
good response, at least by some groups of players.
Yeah.
And I think we need, maybe even need more of that. I'm very open to the ideas of new weapons.
I'm
Well-
not just open to it, I'm welcoming it. From the beginning, I've said that we have too many roles mixed up in between guns, like Mini and Link. Like how the bio rifle was kinda useless except for some fun kills, I guess, or for some lucky shots. This bio launcher thing was the best thing that could happen to the bio rifle, I think.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Same with sniper rifle. Why does the sniper rifle have to be the same across all the games? Why can't we just try something else?
Yeah, definitely. I think, then you seen that post on the forums about the Ham Forcer?
Yeah, I did
The
see that.
what? Forza?
The Ham
no.
Forcer.
What's
Basically,
that?
a concept of combining the Impact Hammer and the Enforcer.
Didn't we say that before sometime? I'm sure we
I mean,
had this talk ages ago.
I don't know, but I actually love that idea.
But
And it would open up another slot for a brand new weapon.
yeah,
And then, you know, I think I would be quite pleased because we probably see the end of the Hammer Air Blast.
Yeah, you're not alone there.
oh god, I really want that to go. That's the only it's the only thing I really want. I don't mind how the weapons end out in the end, just so long as the impact hammer secondary fire is gone. I'm happy. That's yeah.
To me, the solution to fixing the impact hammer is to make it a decent offensive weapon instead of having a defensive weapon, because I think that is what has always been attractive about UT, for me at least, is that it's a very aggressive game in terms of game style. You know, it's very go.
Yeah.
And I think the weapon should reflect that, including impact hammer.
Yeah, why not? I mean, it's definitely worth a try, and I'm totally up for new weapon changes, different ideas, etc. I mean, I'd love to see new weapons replace some of the old stuff as well, and force different metas, different amazing game-changing styles. It would be really cool to see, but it kind of leads on to the next topic that I was going to bring up. which
Actually,
is-
I was thinking, I just wanted to bring something up about having new weapons. I think that we should almost try something that Quake does, which is having maps where some weapons are present and some weapons aren't present.
Yeah,
So if you
definitely.
play Quake Live, there are a couple of extra guns like the nail gun and the chain gun that only appear in some maps.
At the same time, you have maps where there's no railguns.
Yeah, no rail, or there's multiple rocket launchers or multiple plasma guns, and if you have an extra couple of weapons, that makes that whole process so much easier. And then, you know, that's an extra an extra gimmick or whatever that you can add to the map and go, okay, at the beginning of this map, I know that this style is favoured because it lacks this weapon and it's got this weapon. So you give every sort of map a slightly more unique personality, and it makes the games more interesting overall.
Yeah, I think that's very true. I think it forces game styles and players to have their favourite maps, and
And competitive players will not like it.
I don't know.
No,
They will not. They will not like it. Like people who are trying to win those tournaments. Most of them, like 90% of them, probably me included, will not like it because it's the same in, or it is, or it was the same in StarCraft, where you can't ask players, competitive players, for how balanced maps are, because what they want is use their strategies that they spend so many hours on practicing and evolving and all that stuff, and then if you change the map they have to do everything again, and this opens up to them losing maps and so on and so on. So they're biased towards having like being able to do the same stuff over and over and over again.
But you've got the exact same thing that I suggested in Quake, where you've got maps without rail, maps without LG, and really I just think it opens up doors for new playstyles. So because for every
for
player
new playstyles, exactly. But the ones you can like go to in StarCraft, go to the top players and ask them if their map is balanced. Just go for it. Do the change, make it in a competitive map to put it into tournaments, and let them figure it out. You can't base it on
honestly,
their
I think-
opinion. You know.
I think that's going about it the wrong way. If you're just asking their opinion on one map, then you're bound to have biases. But if you have 9 maps as a standard sort of map pool for a season or whatever, if 2 of them have an extra weapon or a slightly different weapon set than
They will wait
other maps,
veto it.
then
Or
then you
as
ask the
much as-
question:
as-
is
as-
the map
as
pool
possible.
balanced as a whole? Then that's a totally different question.
Well, I like the idea, Flick. To be honest, I've never sort of stepped away from it from when I used to play Quake. Like Frantic on Quake was kind of like that. They didn't have a railgun. And it was kind of nice to be able to play a more aggressive style of play because there was no railgun.
And even there are some examples on UT, like Malevolence, that has the has no belt, and Phobos in UT99, or really any map that has jump boots in UT99, and you've got Temple in UT4 with 2 shock rifles.
Yeah.
So I really do think it can work.
Yeah, sure. I'm just saying that at some point people or map makers shouldn't always listen to the opinion or just the opinion of the
The competitive
established
scene.
competitive players, because
Yeah.
they have a bias towards what they want to see, and that's their playstyle. If they will not tell you that, even they might think a map is interesting, for them it's about getting the win, and if they think that they can't compete on this map, they will tell you, no, it's shit.
Yeah. This game is wrecking my KD because I'm not really trying to kill people.
Nice excuse.
You know what we could do actually? We could come together, find a weapon blueprint that people like,
Yeah.
then we can start including it in the maps, because you can have custom weapons packed into the map file, so players don't have to download mods to play with custom weapons. And if we can come together to point out something we would like to try, we could have several maps with the same weapon.
Yeah. We
What do
definitely
you guys
need
think
to.
about that?
Yeah, I'm down for anything that is different and change and positive, because I feel, Unreal Tournament right now, like when you explain it to somebody outside of, who's played Unreal Tournament casually before, and they go, oh cool, what's new with the new Unreal Tournament, you kind of go, well, there's
Nothing.
from a casual point of perspective, not much has really changed. I mean, I could talk about how armors are timed differently, and how the balance changes are of the weapons, but they don't really care about that. They want something unique and different that will draw them in for a long time and have a new, fresh experience. And right now we have a very old experience, which is just being repeated with, you know, a formula that isn't necessarily working with the competitive scene, but might be working with the casual scene. But the interest doesn't lie because it's just too familiar with what the previous games had. And
That's I agree 100% with that.
like, I mean, what do you do to change that? I mean, what can you really experiment with? Because as soon as experimentation comes into the account, like with like Team Showdown, which is actually, I thought, a good compromise to the keeping it arena classic but adding some more strategy involved, like, which isn't mechanical based. You actually have to talk to your teammates and do set plays each round. And that was different, unique, and didn't venture away too much away from an arena FPS, what it should be. But it seems like loads of the competitive community just don't want to even try it or give it a chance or even give it a go. And it's like, do people really want change? Do they want these new exciting game modes, or do they want something that's familiar and old and not really going to have mass appeal at the long day?
I think it would be a massive mistake if people felt like the game modes that are already in the game are perfect and would not experiment with new stuff. I mean, even if, for example, Showdown, that's the new game mode that we've been trying. Even if you didn't think, oh, this is going to be the next big thing, it would still be really worthwhile to try it out and at least pick out those aspects that you really do like about it and those that you don't, and then apply what you've learned from it to new game modes that you might try and make.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. Like, Showdown is probably not going to be the answer. I don't think it will be. But it sparked a whole different new life for a team game for me, because I haven't been enjoying team games in this game. I haven't enjoyed them since ICTF, like in 2004. Do you know what I mean? Like that was the only time
absolutely.
I really enjoyed them. And TDM isn't my thing, and like the fact is that when we play a Team Showdown game, I'm talking to my teammates and we're communicating some form of strategy and gank, and it feels like I'm playing LoL or Dota in that regard. Like, oh, let's gank this lane, let's do this round, and then it's a reset, and you can kind of never feel like you're out of the game, which is a nice feeling that you don't usually have. And yeah, it was just something fresh and different, and it might not be the solution. I'm not saying it is. So please don't think
Certainly
I'm like
closer than
pushing
anything else.
Showdown to the limit, as most people think in the CTF community for some funny reason. Like, if we could make CTF viable and make it better, then I'm totally up for that, and I'm totally up for fucking doing that sort of game mode, you know? I'm not game mode biased. I want UT as a whole to succeed, and ideally I'd love a team game to be the one, but right now Duel is what people want in terms of esports. Loads of different tournament organizations have actually just approached me just going, you know what, we really like to fill a 1v1 slot, and it's perfect for that right now. And it's like, it can really jump into that slot and take a huge advantage of it as well, especially because this game is much further along than other games at the moment, so it would be dumb not to do that as well. But I think a team game offers much more, you know, long run investment in terms of building a bigger community. It's interesting anyway, but I really want a new game mode. I don't really mind what it is, but I want something that really gets everybody hyped and playing Unreal Tournament.
Yeah, it should be the hook, right? So when a new player asks what Unreal Tournament 4 is, you tell them it's like Unreal Tournament 99, but, and then you have the hook. And the hook is the new game mode, it's the new content, yeah. It's what makes the new player wants to play.
Yeah. Indeed, yeah.
I mean, you said it there, like, those specific things you really liked about Showdown, the way that you're just coming up with these strategies because of the way the game starts. Even if you dislike Showdown because you have a smaller selection of weapons or you don't like not respawning, you could at least take away from trying it that, hey, if we do come up with a new game mode, maybe we want to incorporate this kind of spawn selection at the start. We want to kind of incorporate that strategy into whatever we come up with next.
Yeah. Like, if you could incorporate that kind of, because at the moment the strategy in Unreal Tournament is practice, 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 and be mechanically the best you can be.
Yep.
When you play, it's not really about setting up key like tournaments. Like when I pug in some of the CTF games, some of those guys have been playing almost 2 years in the pugs, and nobody's really talking about doing a set play or trying to time everything up together so when they get to the mid, the armor's up. It's very rare that happens. Occasionally it might, but it's usually accidental, and it's just a statistics game of just run to the flag, bring out the flag, and play the good mechanical teamwork game, good communication, and make sure everybody's there. And you know,
Yeah, that's the most efficient strategy.
Yeah,
You need to encourage the most efficient strategy to be a mix of mechanical skill and thinking.
Yeah, but mechanical skill takes a long time to develop, and you know it doesn't invite new players in necessarily. With Team Showdown at the moment, I think, you know, as soon as we started playing it, I thought we're just, you know, when I was playing against you guys, and it was me, Dylan, some other people, we were playing against you guys, and we were just like, oh, this is going to be like, you know, no problem. We're going to hammer you guys because we're mechanically so much better than you. No offense at the time. You've improved a shed load now. But you guys hammered us, like not even close, just because you were thinking of different ideas of how to put out your teamwork. And that was like an epiphany to me. It was like, wow, that's really cool. I like that. Like, I like having to...
me.
Sorry, go for it.
Sorry. I've been kind of like starting a fun team for Team Showdown called Rocket Riders. It's me, Flick, Pete, Rolf, Nukoi. Maybe I've forgotten someone. Anyways, but we have made some execution strategies, kind of like how you make strategies in Counter-Strike, where you look for information in the beginning of the round.
Yeah.
And depending what your opponents do, you have set strategies that you go to. So like, for example, on Chill, if I see my opponent going for Belt, we have a strategy that counters it. But it relies on communication, because someone has to scout for it. And that's pretty fun to do, I think.
Yeah, definitely. It's like when you do like you said, the strategy on Chill, there's a spawn here by the shield belt, there's one inside by the rocket launcher, and there's another couple inside by the rocket launcher. But you need to read, does the rocket launcher guy go for the rocket launcher or the shield belt first? And then that gives you a set play, and having that guy to tell you that information, and then you can work off of that. It's unique and a little bit different.
Yeah, one of the more interesting things you can do on Chill is if you notice someone take the rocket room, you can take the amp spawn and also the link spawn, and then what you have is you have an amped enforcer and a regular enforcer, and you can straight up kill the guy who goes for the belt with two enforcers, and it's that really shock play that you've got that they weren't expecting, but it's totally different to how most of Unreal Tournament works.
Yeah.
And there's also the other really nice thing about Showdown, I think, is compared to a lot of the other team game modes, the tempo of the game. Because to me, but it's like a good story. Like if you look at Dota or CS or whatever, you kind of have these moments of downtime, and there's a sort of calm before the storm. People are just scouting each other out, and it kind of builds towards one big team fight and like some exciting moment. And then it goes back down, everything calms down, and then you start building up to that next big moment again. But for me, I always felt like the team game modes currently in UT are always just at that high tempo. It's like,
It's non-stop.
It's the esport for adrenaline junkies, right? Like you just keep going. It's just relentless.
But that's the thing that's in UT's blood, you know. That's the thing that has kept these players and us going, well, for me anyway, for a long period of time. But I've definitely got kind of bored with it, you know. Like when I look at other games like Overwatch, and they just look absolutely amazing to me. But again, that has the same problem, I feel, as well with UT, that it's just constant. There's no real break in the fights or the strategies so much. Well, a bit more with Overwatch because of the respawn timers and stuff. You have to do hard resets, etc. And that kind of is the downtime. But the constant respawning is not healthy for new players. I feel like just always getting chucked into the action and not seeing how it's done properly, or seeing from another perspective, that I think really helps sometimes to understand what you should do in a certain situation. I think
well, the constant respawning, at least for a new player that is trying to get into the competitive scene, if they're spawning every time, they don't know what they did wrong. It's helpful to, you know, have 30 seconds to just sort of reflect on what they did that got them killed, or, you know, that the other team played this well, and maybe I should try that next time, and or have their teammates explain to them, you know, a better way of doing that next time, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Oh, and that was the other last thing that I really like about Showdown. I think it shows that a lot of the frustration people have with classic game modes from UT is that, like, you can really fall behind and then never really be able to come back. You just feel helpless. But on a round-based kind of game mode, you have that opportunity to just reset, to calm down and say, okay, that went badly, but now we're on even footing again. That person is on, you know, the same health and armor as I am, as opposed to Duel, where for a new player, they're just frustrated because they've died a few times, and now the person they're playing against is like 4 times healthier than they are.
What would you say the disadvantages of Showdown are? I mean, what don't you like about it?
Well, firstly, I dislike the lack of weapons, basically, which I think could be addressed with Showdown-specific maps. But I think one really enjoyable thing about UT is swapping weapons and comboing them together, that sort of thing.
Okay. No, I mean, somebody made a valid point, like, you know, sometimes you can play a map or something that, you know, one round it takes 10 seconds and you actually just spent a minute picking spawns. Is that a bad thing or a good thing? Like for me, like, I've played rounds until the very end as well, many times. But maybe some people have got a point that, you know, a high-end skill game against a lower skill team, you could just see like 10-second rounds with not much action happening in them, or very boring, bland action, or that kind of aspect of it as well.
The thing with that though is that I think you probably just see kind of stomps anyway in the current game modes if you're talking about a high level team versus a lower level team.
Yeah.
Like, if you've ever
Isn't
tried
that
playing
how it
2v2
should
TP.
be?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So I'm not sure if that's necessarily a Showdown specific
I was
issue.
just trying to come up with a scenario with, you know, just demonstrating some negatives about the game mode. I'm not saying it's perfect, is what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to find faults in it, and, you know, there's things to learn, and, you know, having you guys, because you guys have probably played it more than I have as well, so it's interesting to hear your thoughts and what could be improved, what could change, and, you know, it'd be nice. Well, I'm planning to do a whole series of tournaments in the US, Australia, and Europe for this, but, you know, I have reservations because, you know, the current community don't want to play it. Like, a lot of the old school guys won't want to try it or give it a go or give it a bash because, you know, the social circles, they don't want to get laughed at almost. Like, it's ridiculous in some way. Like, oh, you're gonna play Showdown. It's like when people used to go, oh, you're gonna play TAM instead of TDM. It's just stupid in my head. Like, just try it. Just don't let your pride get in the way. You know,
Yeah,
I think
it's kind of like
I think the
kind of like
playtest.
rollerblading at the moment. Like, people don't want to rollerblade just because what people think of them, but, you know, try it.
Yeah. Well, rollerbladers were hated because of skateboarders. Skateboarders thought it was lame, and that's what happened. It's kind of the same thing. It's like, it's such a weird mentality to have. It's just like everybody's trying to find their enjoyment in the game in different ways, shapes, or forms. And, you know, it'd be really nice to have one good competitive mode that we could all enjoy and get to. It's just discovering it. That's what's really important to me. That's what I want to find. What is it? How do we get there?
Yeah, I mean, I would say to anyone who's watching, like, you'll probably enjoy Showdown if you just get a few friends and then just play together. It's because it's like a sort of slow game mode. You almost like have that time to just chill out and talk about whatever as well.
That's pretty
Like-
much what happened with me. That's like the story of it. When it came out, I played a little bit of Showdown, and then Team Showdown came out, and I didn't like Showdown before that. So I didn't see the point in Showdown, in the normal Showdown. And then Team Showdown came out, and I even started like joking on I think on Zach's stream or on the official stream, like, oh wow, Showdown, who the fuck likes that, you know? And then I tried playing Team Showdown with communications, like with you guys. I think my first game was Yara and so on, Zekabis.
Somebody in the chat.
And since then, I'm pretty much a Showdown fan.
It's interesting. Somebody in the chat says the thing I hate about Showdown is that it's mostly spectating and not playing. If you die early, at least I always do. Lol. I mean, isn't that the same for Counter-Strike as well, though? Like in that regard, like if you don't know what you're doing,
Yes.
you just get your head shot off every.
One major upside to that is that because you have that, you also have clutch situations, and I think that's a pretty huge thing to have in a game. Clutches are so fun to watch when they happen, I think.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like a 1v3 situation. I mean, I had probably the best 1v3 situation that I've ever had in my entire life, where I was 10 HP against Wolf, Aiko, and I think it was Lone Wolf or somebody else, or Silico maybe, and I got knocked down to 10 HP. There was 3 up. I killed Wolf, went towards the shield belt area on focus, and hit the jump pad. As I was falling, I got a pixel sniper shot on one opponent, and then accidentally crushed the guy behind me, underneath me, and got the double kill. Like on 10 HP against those caliber of players, and you're just like, what the hell?
Yeah, and the difference is if that had happened in TDM, I mean, even if that happened in Showdown, even if you're 4 rounds behind or 5 rounds behind, that's really pivotal. But if that happens in TDM, and you're 40% of their frags behind, it doesn't matter that you got a double kill.
Yeah, true.
Nobody sees it anyway.
Yeah, and it's just...
Yeah, it has to do with the storytelling. People often make fun of me when I use this word storytelling in a game mode, but I think it's real. And Team Showdown has a storytelling element where you have build-ups, you have climax, you have clutches, and you remember the games because a lot of these moments happen. But in TDM, it's also like it sort of blends into a haze. You don't really remember the game.
Well,
No, I agree with that 100%. The only things you'll remember from a TDM or a duel game is if you get an especially good frag, and even then, like, you probably won't remember most of them unless you're looking to get into the top 5 players. But I can certainly recall like specific strategies we've run in Showdown where I've just felt so good that it's been pulled off and it's worked well.
Yeah, that's very true. But I think CTF has those moments too, when you have a good team run, teamwork play, when you're communicating well with your team and you're telling them to push into a certain area, and you manage to get the flag back on that. That has that element of to it.
Yeah, that's certainly one of the things CTF does well, and you
Yeah.
have these really sort of incredible flag runs where it gets dropped 5 or 6 times and the other team keeps headshotting the flag carrier, but you've got all your defenders and they're there to pick up the flag, and then it's a long hard slog back to the base, but you get it eventually.
Yeah, but CTF has its own issues in terms of its very low player base, really. I mean, in Europe hardly anybody plays it, and that's a very worrying sign. In fact, I tell a lie, loads of people play it. It's just ICTF. So maybe ICTF is the way forward because it gives that accessibility to the game mode. And it rewards the frags. It lets people get in very quickly and get involved. It's a whole different kettle of fish compared to normal weapon CTF in the end.
I think ICTF's really good spectator-wise because first off you don't have the translocator, which in normal weapon CTF, it's what defines the game, but unfortunately, it makes it hard to spectate. But in ICTF, the thing that defines the game is the Instagib rifle, and because that's so standard, you can really concentrate on the flag grabs and the flag runs and all sorts.
Well, you can follow the action clearer, that's for sure, in Instagib, but there are long periods of time when nothing happens because it's all about the fragging, and that's kind of an issue as well. That it becomes very mechanical in terms of it's about aim. It's just out fragging your opponent to get the flag home. But anyways,
I wonder
carry on,
if
Tom.
we need to try and encourage a culture of people actually testing and trying things out more. I mean, because like even CTF, for example, like I have some ideas in my mind about what I dislike about CTF, but if I'm being honest, I've had very few chances playing in Europe to actually get to a really good idea of what CTF is about, just because people don't test it. And I imagine it's the same for people not trying out Showdown. So I wonder if, I don't know, you need to convince people maybe with some sweets or something. Give them something. Just test stuff out and give your feedback on it, and maybe you'll be rewarded for it.
Yeah, I mean, when I started playing normal weapon CTF with Cafe and his lot on stuff on the pugs, like I really didn't enjoy it early on at all because of the translocator. I didn't enjoy using it, didn't like getting across the map. Then I got more used to it and it started to grow on me. I started not necessarily liking the translocator, I still hate it, but once I got used to it, I enjoyed actually playing the game mode in general. Like I could understand when to shoot, when not to shoot, but it just has this hard element of people getting into that game mode because I think the translocator is one of the main issues to it, and a lot of CTF players would probably disagree maybe, but it is slightly annoying to have to deal with the translocator all the time and having two flags to follow. There's lots of things I think I'd like to see experimented with CTF to make it work, but are the CTF players willing to try it? That's the thing, and I don't think they are, and I think they're set on their own sights and their own goals, which is fine, totally understandable. But I feel as if the community will get split more and more as we segregate ourselves even more. Anyways, it's a whole crazy thing to talk about, and it could go on for hours. So we probably should end the stream on that note.
All right.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. I just want to say something.
Go for it.
I think there's a big demand for arena FPS games these days. When I go on forums, I see a lot of people longing for another arena FPS games. Have been some new ones, but to be honest, none of them have professional quality. And I think Unreal Tournament is the first one in a long time that has professional quality. And I think there's massive potential.
Yeah, and it's certainly the
So,
first one
yeah.
that has all these casual friendly features planned, like unlocks, skins, crate drops, levels, all sorts of cosmetics and stuff, and that should really help.
That's my opinion as well. If one game can bring back FPS arena, then it's UT right now. Currently, I don't see any other
I
one.
agree.
Yeah, UT is awesome. Woo!
And now my internet connection is officially fixed. I'm going to start streaming more in the week, and
Boy.
I'd love to actually play with the guys in the chat a lot more. I'd like to get them involved. We do a lot of talking. It'd be cool to bring some of you on TS and just play some games, experiment, tell me what you like, what you don't like, that kind of stuff. I think it'd be really cool to kind of do that.
We need our own hub, man, so we can try out stuff.
That's true. Might have
So
to
we don't need to always contact people with hubs to put on a map or a mod or whatever.
Yeah, a hub where it's just a free for all of random
ideas.
assorted
Yeah.
things. Yeah, and then what you do is you play for a couple of hours, and then you take away what you liked about certain weapons, and then you give feedback, and then eventually you've got this massive long list of things that people like, and if you've got 3 different versions of the same weapon, you pick the things that people like from each one, and then you combine them, or Epic takes feedback on that kind of thing, and they say, all right, people like this, this, and this, maybe we should change our base weapon set to reflect that, and that's how I think the game should be, pushed forward.
Anyways, on that note and on that bombshell, thanks guys for tuning in. It's a bloody long stream. I don't know how long we were going on for, but you guys, you just kept ranting on, which is good.
That's what we do, man. Happy
I
to
really
be here.
appreciate it, and I really like hearing all your input on the game. It's very interesting, and I like to hear everybody else's in the chat as well. Sorry I don't get to read out the chat that much. I would like to do that more, but these guys just keep talking too much. It's their fault, not mine. Honest. Right, anyways, see you guys later.
Alright,
Thanks for
bye-bye.
tuning in, and you guys are amazing. Thanks.